You believe the worst sorrow is being betrayed. That's wrong. The real pain is kissing lips that just met another man, holding a body that is no longer devoted to you and not realizing it. Many men tell themselves her distance is only due to stress or age or habit, but the reality is harder. Women seldom admit things, yet they always show them. And if you fail to notice the warnings, you become the silent partner in your own shame. That's why today I'm going to share 8 clues that reveal a woman who just slept with someone else. Clues most men overlook until it's too late. And the final one, it's the absolute proof, the one thing she cannot hide, no matter how hard she tries. Before I go over these 8 clues with you, take a moment to subscribe and press like. Also, tell me in the comments what city you are watching from. I want to see how far this message goes, because deceit speaks the same language no matter where you live. And now let's return to the discussion. The first clue I'm about to show you is subtle, quiet, and it's the one that secretly ruins more men than they understand. First, the cold quiet of her body. There is a type of quiet that doesn't come from words. It comes from the body. And when you have been with a woman for a long time, you recognize that quiet. You know when her touch has meaning, when her kiss has heat, when her body seeks you without you asking. And you also know when that connection goes dead. This is one of the toughest clues to face because it doesn't shout at you, it whispers. You lean in to kiss her, and she turns her face slightly. You touch her shoulder in bed, and she tenses up instead of relaxing. She says she's tired, but her body isn't heavy with tiredness. It's heavy with not caring. That difference matters because tiredness goes away with sleep. Not caring doesn't. Here's the truth most men do not want to accept. When a woman has been satisfied by someone else, she doesn't come back to you needing anything. She comes back full, and being full leaves no room for you. Picture trying to start a fire that has already finished burning. No matter how many matches you light, the wood stays cold. That's what it feels like when her body has already given itself somewhere else. The error men make here is denying the truth. You tell yourself it's just worry or it's age or this is just what happens in long relationships. No, attraction does not die from being old. It dies when it moves to a new source. If she used to hold you close after work but now moves away, that's not routine, it's a sign. So what do you do with this realization? You don't beg, you don't push harder, you watch, you test. Instead of chasing, pull back. See if the distance shrinks on its own or if it grows even bigger. A woman who still wants you will eventually reach out again. A woman who has given herself away will let the quiet get deeper. Your job is not to force her body to respond. Your job is to know when the response is gone. The change is painful, yes, but it's also freeing. Because once you stop lying to yourself, you stop wasting energy on a fire that someone else already put out. And here is the issue. If the body doesn't speak to you anymore, don't think the truth will stay hidden because if her skin has become quiet, her habits will start yelling. If you don't notice it in her touch, you'll sense it in her routines. Second, the cleanup habit. When a woman has been close with another man, she doesn't walk through your door carrying the smell of cheating. She walks in smelling clean, too clean. A new scent that wasn't there before. A shower that lasted longer than normal. Clothes changed for no good reason. Underwear switched out in a way that doesn't fit the rest of the day. On the outside, it looks like caring for herself. In reality, it's a cover-up. This is what I call the removal habit. She's not only washing her body, she's trying to wash her conscience. And most men miss it because they want to. You tell yourself she just likes to feel clean or she's trying a new scent. That's how you fool yourself because you don't want to face the darker possibility that she's removing the traces of someone else before you notice. Here is how it works. A woman knows her body tells stories, skin holds on to smells, hair keeps traces, clothes remember contact, so she scrubs, she sprays. She hides the proof under flowery scents and soap. And the funny thing is that the more she tries to remove it, the louder it becomes. That sudden focus on being clean isn't a random thing. It's a pattern. Let me be clear. This doesn't mean every shower means cheating. That is not the point. The point is change. If she never cared much about rushing to the bathroom after work, but suddenly does. If she's suddenly guarding her dirty clothes like they are secret, you pay attention. The study of the mind isn't about exact rules. It's about shifts. It's about noticing what no longer fits the normal way she was with you. So what is the action? Stop making excuses for what cannot be excused. Don't laugh it off. Don't feel good thinking, at least she's looking after herself. No. Watch. Put the pieces together. If this habit happens repeatedly, if it always comes with that overly perfect smile afterward, you know what is happening. The error men make is ignoring their nose and their gut feeling. You smell the perfume, but you call it fragrance instead of trickery. You notice the extra cleanliness, but you label it personal improvement. That is how you help in your own replacement. The solution is being aware. When the pattern appears, you don't yell in anger. You accept it with clear sight. You don't need to blame, you need to see. Because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And that clear sight changes how you act. But here's the thing, being clean is only on the surface. Underneath, the game gets deeper. Because when her body is clean, she still has to deal with her feelings, and guilt has a way of coming out sideways. Third, the blame game. Anger without a reason. When guilt becomes too heavy for her to carry, she doesn't confess it. She moves it to you. Suddenly, you are the problem. You walk through the door, and instead of a greeting, you get a complaint. You stack the dishes wrong, you're too quiet, you talk too much. Whatever you do, it is not good enough. That anger isn't random, it's a tactic. Here is the thinking behind it. If she makes you out to be the bad person, she doesn't have to feel like the cheater. She changes the story in her mind. In her version, she didn't step outside the relationship because she wanted to. She did it because you were not paying attention or controlling or boring. This is putting her feelings onto you at its clearest. She can't handle the conflict inside herself, so she pushes it onto you. The trap most men fall into is defending themselves. You try to explain. You argue thinking logic will solve it, but you can't defeat guilt with logic. The more you defend, the more reasons she gets to keep painting you as the bad person. And before you realize it, you're walking carefully in your own house. Here is the change. Stop playing defense. You don't need to win the argument. You need to win your self-respect. Next time she gets mad at you over something silly, don't get upset. Don't beg. Don't argue. Look her in the eye and say calmly, "You don't need to argue to excuse what you've already decided." Then step back, not because you are weak, but because you are strong. You're showing that you see the tactic and you won't take part in it. That one action flips the way things are. Because when you don't play the part she wrote for you, her story falls apart. Now the weight of her guilt sits where it belongs, with her. And you just got back your emotional control. Men often ask me, but isn't staying quiet weak? No. Weakness is letting someone trick you into fighting. Strength is being in control. You're not ignoring the issue. You're refusing to be manipulated by it. That is what separates a man being used from a man standing strong. But remember this, putting feelings onto others is strong, but it isn't the final disguise. There is another place where the truth appears without her even talking, a place no excuse can cover, and it's in her body itself. Fourth, the body does not lie. A woman can practice her excuses. She can hide her moods. She can perfect her story until it sounds convincing. But there's one place she can't control, her body. And this is where most men betray themselves, not because they can't see, but because they refuse to look. You know her, you know how she acts, how warm she is, how she responds. That's why when something changes, you feel it, even if you don't want to accept it. Maybe she feels strangely tense or strangely relaxed. Maybe her responsiveness has shifted, either too much or strangely absent. Sometimes it's small, sometimes it's obvious, but it's never random. Here is the difficult part. You don't need to be a doctor to notice. You need to be honest. Men often explain it away. Maybe it's her monthly cycle. Maybe she's worried. And yes, those things can happen. But when the change is sudden, when it doesn't fit the normal way, you must pay attention. Because ignoring what your senses already picked up is the quickest way to shame yourself. The mistake is thinking that by pretending everything's fine, you're saving the relationship. You're not. You're just delaying the breakdown. A body that has been with another man carries a mark. Not always seen, but always felt. And when you feel it, but you force yourself to stay quiet, you're lying to yourself more than she's lying to you. So what do? First, stop running from your gut feeling. If something feels wrong, don't ignore it. Allow yourself to notice it. Second, stop trying too hard. Men often react by trying harder. More hugging, more patience, more effort in bed, as if giving more will fix what's already been taken. It won't. You don't win desire back by throwing effort at it. You win by knowing when it's gone. Here is a practical step. Instead of chasing her body, get clear. If closeness feels wrong, step back and watch. Don't accuse, don't ask questions. Just notice how consistent the change is. That awareness is your protection. It stops you from putting more into someone who has already pulled away. And the deeper truth, if you ignore your senses, you're not being strong. You're being afraid. Strength is not denial. Strength is facing what you already know, even when it hurts. But guilt doesn't always show up as coldness. Sometimes, to hide the problems, she goes in the opposite direction. She becomes warm, loving, even kind in a way that feels almost too good to be real. And that's exactly what it is. Fifth, too much affection. The show of guilt. Not every act of cheating looks cold. Sometimes it walks through the door covered in kisses, hugs, and a sudden rush of kindness. And if you're not paying attention, you'll mistake guilt for love. This is one of the cruelest tricks because it plays directly on your hope. You felt her moving away. You've sensed the quiet, and suddenly she's holding your hand again, kissing your cheek, whispering, "I love you," with teary eyes, and your heart wants to believe it's true. You think she's coming back to me, but she isn't. She's trying to come back to herself. That affection isn't for you. It's for her conscience. Here's the thinking. After doing something wrong, many women don't pull away. They pull closer. Not because they've found their desire again, but because they need to quiet the guilt. Touching you, cooking for you, saying nice things. It's all part of the act. The act isn't to keep you happy. It's to keep her from being overwhelmed by self-disgust. The error men make is treating this affection like a second chance. You relax your guard, you stop watching, you sigh with relief, and that's when you lose all control. You become the comfort item, the safe place she holds onto, while her passion is burning somewhere else. You end up holding her guilt, not her love. So what is the action? Learn to check the source. Ask yourself, does this affection happen regularly or only after times when she was away without a good reason? Does she touch you with desire or because she feels she must? Does she lean in with warmth or does it feel practiced, almost overdone? Those questions get to the truth. And here's the hard lesson. Don't reward affection that comes from guilt. Don't let her clean her conscience on your shoulders. You don't need hugs that are born from cheating. What you need is truth, even if it's cold. And sometimes the strongest thing you can say is this: "I'd rather have your quiet than your hug from guilt." That statement isn't for her. It's for you. It's your way of taking back self-respect when faced with false kindness. Because here's the truth. Love doesn't need a show. Real connection doesn't just appear after guilt. If her affection feels like an apology instead of desire, you already know the difference. And once you know, you can never go back to pretending. But if you keep accepting her guilty hug, the next stage is worse because she won't just touch you without desire. She'll stay with you physically while her mind wanders far away. Sixth, emotional lack in intimacy. There's a difference between a body next to you and a soul with you. And once you've felt that difference, it's impossible to forget it. This is the stage where cheating hurts the most, not because of what she does, but because of what she holds back. She gives you her body, but she no longer gives you herself. Picture this. You're in bed. Everything seems normal. She touches you. She moves. She even makes sounds. On the surface, it's all there, but something is missing. Her eyes look empty. Her energy doesn't match yours. You can feel that she's somewhere else, thinking about a memory that doesn't include you. That's not closeness. That's acting. And here's the harsh truth. A woman who's emotionally absent during closeness is already gone. You're not making love. You're playing a part in her cover-up. And men who ignore this always tell themselves the same comforting lie. She's just tired, or it's stress. But deep down, you know the difference. Tiredness still allows presence. Stress still allows connection. This absence, it's an emptiness. The mistake most men make is pushing harder. You think if I try more, she'll come back. So you give more affection, more patience, more effort, hoping to win her over. But the more you push, the further she moves away because her fire isn't missing. It's burning somewhere else. And every extra bit of effort you give just teaches her one thing: she doesn't need to give anything back. So what's the answer? Stop chasing what isn't there. Respect yourself enough to notice when her soul isn't with you. Step back. Say less. And most importantly, don't confuse physical participation with emotional presence. When her spirit has left, your job isn't to drag it back. It's to decide whether you'll keep lying in a bed that feels colder each night. Here's a simple step. Next time you feel that absence, don't cover it up with more effort. Stop, look at her, and in your mind, tell yourself the truth. I'm not here to beg for connection. I'm here to recognize reality. That change in thinking alone changes everything. It stops you from being the man who tries to bring back a bond that's already been ended. Because being next to a woman who isn't truly with you isn't love, it's shame. And if you let that shame stay, the next clue will expose it clearly. She won't just leave you emotionally absent in bed, she'll start leaving you physically absent in time. Seventh, the late returns. Weak excuses. When love is real, time adjusts to make space for it. A woman who still desires you will find her way back to you, even on the busiest days. But when her fire is gone, suddenly the clock works against you. She's late again and again, and every excuse feels weaker than the one before. She tells you work ran late, her phone died, a friend needed her. At first you want to believe it. You convince yourself these are normal things. Because yes, life gets complicated, but when complicated becomes a pattern, when lateness becomes normal, it's not about life. It's about priority. And you're no longer the most important thing. Here's the thinking. Lateness is more than missing time. It's a test. She's not just arriving late. She's seeing how much you'll accept. She wants to see if you'll question it, if you'll stand up, or if you'll keep accepting less while hoping for more. Every time you let it go, you teach her. You teach her that your self-respect can be lowered. The trap most men fall into is silence. You see the lack of consistency. You feel the pain, but you hold it in. You tell yourself, if I say something, I'll seem worried. But being worried isn't asking for respect. Being worried is pretending you don't notice. So what's the action? Call it what it is. Not with yelling, not with begging, but with clear boundaries. The next time she comes in late with another weak story, don't question her. Don't demand details. Simply look at her and state the truth. You weren't here, and that tells me everything I need to know. Then let the quiet stay. That quiet is more powerful than any fight because it puts the responsibility back where it belongs, on her choices. Here's a practical step. Look at the pattern, not the excuse. Don't waste time going through the details of each story. Instead, pay attention to how often it happens, to the tone, to how your gut reacts every time. Patterns tell the truth, even when words don't. And here's the harsh reality. A woman who still chooses you will always come home. Maybe late sometimes, sure, but not as a regular thing. If she no longer comes back to you, it's because she's already returning to someone else. But lateness is only part of the story. Because even when she tries to hide it, her own words will give her away. And when her story falls apart because of its own conflicting parts, that's when the truth finally comes out completely. Eighth, the failure of her story. Stories are fragile things. They can be practiced, perfected, and repeated. But the moment pressure builds, weak spots appear. And when a woman has done something wrong, her story eventually falls apart because of its own conflicting parts. You've seen it before. She comes home late, words rushing out too fast, details changing each time she tells it. One night, it's a coworker who needed help. The next time, it was a last-minute chore. You notice the missing pieces, the times that don't match, the way her voice doesn't match her words, and most clearly of all, you notice her eyes. They don't look directly at you anymore. They move around. They drop. They flicker with worry. That's not stress. That's lying, trying to stay standing. Here's the mistake men make. They demand definite proof. They want evidence, a clear sign, something undeniable. But the truth doesn't always come with a document. It comes in things that don't match. It comes in the way her story breaks down the more you listen. The harder she tries to control what she says, the more obvious it becomes that the story is slipping away from her. So, what's the action? Stop being a detective. You don't need to collect proof for a court case. You already have the signs, the changes, the silences, the patterns. When her story falls apart, you don't fight against it. You step away from it. You don't beg her to make it make sense. You don't yell for confessions. You simply decide, I don't believe you and I don't need to anymore. That's not a blame. That's a boundary. And here's the power shift. Once you stop demanding explanations, you take back your power. You stop being the man seeking clarity from someone who likes confusion. You become the man who sets the limit. And the limit is simple: respect or nothing. Practical step: practice quiet acceptance. The next time her story starts shaking, don't fill the quiet with questions. Let it fall. Don't save her from the weight of her own conflicting statements. That quiet is your friend. It shows what words are trying to hide. And understand this: you don't need to shout cheater to get back your self-respect. All you need is clear sight and the courage to act on it. Because when her story fails, the truth is no longer the issue. The only issue left is your decision. Will you keep lying to yourself, or will you stand up for the man you know you are? And that's the final point, because after seeing all 8 signs, the real question isn't whether she cheated on you. The real question is whether you'll cheat yourself by staying blind. You have just heard the 8 signs. And let's be clear, this isn't about turning you into a suspicious detective looking around for every small detail. It's about opening your eyes so you stop hurting yourself. Because the worst betrayal isn't what she does in private. It's what you allow yourself to ignore right in front of you. The goal here was never to catch her in the act. The goal is to get back your self-respect, your boundaries, and your power as a man who refuses to accept less than he deserves. That's why these signs matter. They aren't just clues of cheating, they're warnings. Warnings that something is wrong, something needs to be fixed, and that ignoring it will only cost you more of your self-respect. Now, here's the truth most men miss. Not every sign means cheating is certain. Sometimes distance comes from stress, tiredness, or years of poor talking. And that's why your job isn't to accuse. It's to test, to observe, and to face the truth directly. If there's a chance to fix things, you fix them. You have the talk. You reset the boundaries. You fight for connection. But if the evidence piles up, if every sign proves what your gut already knows, then the most manly thing you can do is walk away with your self-respect unharmed. Because love is never worth trading your self-respect. So here's my challenge to you. Pick one situation in your life where you've ignored your own instincts. It could be her sudden coldness, her constant anger, or her stories that never quite make sense. Don't push it away this time. Face it. Decide whether it's a problem you can solve with her or whether it's the end of the road. Either way, the decision belongs to you, not to her lies, not to your fears. Before you go, press subscribe, tap like, and share this video with a man who still refuses to see what's right in front of him. And in the comments, I want you to share your story. Have you ever noticed one of these signs? How did you deal with it? Because your story might be the one that wakes up another man before it's too late. This isn't the end of your path. It's the start of taking back what was always yours: your self-respect, your clear sight, and your freedom to choose love without ever losing yourself.